Today we are talking about the levels of denial. And I mean, there are levels. It's not just in denial or not. And we're going to talk about the important things to understand about those levels of denial because if you have a loved one with a substance abuse problem, you need to understand where you're at so you can understand what tactic to use. For those of you who are new here, welcome to Put the Shovel Down. I'm Amber Hollingsworth. And this YouTube channel is specifically to help you understand the science and psychology of addiction so that you can get your loved one back on track if possible, but definitely to get your own life back on track. I am a substance abuse counselor and have been for a long time now, more than 16 years. And I normally work with the person who has a substance abuse problems, but my office, we work with the whole family. So I have other people in the office work with the family. And I'm basically giving you the inside scoop. Hey, Paige. So the information I'm going to give you comes from years of experience of sitting across from people with substance abuse problems and really listening for how they think, how they're making decisions, and what's going on, because it's the psychology of the problem that's so difficult to get through. Hey, Rita. Hey, Angela. And so today I'm going to be talking to you some of my sort of secret inside tips about different types of denial that you may be running into, and a little bit of tips on kind of, what to do about it, or definitely what not to do. And I think that'll help you kind of understand where you're at. I'm going to give you 5 layers. Now, like I said, hey, Aiden, these are not, you're not going to find these in a book. I'm just made up the names of these because this is from my professional experience. And so it's just the different versions, I guess, that I've seen over the years. And these are 5 categories. And the last one is probably the most difficult to deal with. So we're going to kind of start, because usually these levels of denial, they almost happen in like a progression. It's kind of like stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, all the way down to stage 5. Hopefully you don't get to stage 5 because it's not a good place to be, but this will at least help you understand kind of where you're at. Now, most of us think about denial means that someone doesn't think that they have a problem, which is a pretty accurate definition of denial. But it's a little bit more complex than that, because I would say what I'm going to call stage 1 denial is that really stereotypical, like, I don't know what you're talking about, like, I don't have a problem, y'all need to get off my back kind of denial, like a refusal to see, hey, Vargas, a refusal to see that there is any problem at all. That is stage 1 denial. And if you're dealing with that with someone that you care about, the key here is to do 2 things. One most important thing, keep yourself out of the bad guy role. And the second most important thing is keep yourself out of the enabling role. And that can be hard to do because they're almost like opposites, And so we do a lot of teaching on this channel and in our Family Recovery Academy about how to accomplish that very thing. But essentially what it is you don't want to be the one that's the villain in the story. Don't let them make you into that person. Now, I know they have superpowers for doing this, and they're really good, and they push your buttons. But try really hard not to be the villain, because that slows down the process. Because then they get focused and preoccupied on you and how unfair you are and how naggy and controlling you are and all that stuff. And it just distracts us from seeing that there's a problem. So it just slows down the process. So that's the first key. The second key is don't fix the situations for them. That is going to help someone begin to see that they have a problem faster. Obviously, families, you do not cause this problem. It's not your fault that your loved one has this problem. But I'm going to tell you the truth. You could be slowing down the process. You could be hindering the recovery. And you could be doing that if you're playing the bad guy role or if you're fixing their outside situations. Hey, Sue. Hey, Taylor. Occasionally, I do tell people it's okay to fix it, but usually only if it's like leveraged. Okay, like I'll help you get a lawyer, but only if you're in treatment for this long or something like that. I'm okay with that, but just fixing it and then just expecting it not to happen again with no other interventions, that's bad business, people. Don't do that. Okay, so let's say your loved one is past that part of like, I don't have a problem at all. The next stage you're going to run into is called, this is what I call it. It's called, okay, I got a problem, but it's not that bad. I just get a little carried away sometimes. I just need to rein it in. Level number 2 is it's a problem, but it's not that bad. And this is where I start to see a lot of what we talk about on this channel about the bargaining. Like, let me try to cut it back. Let me try to not use for a little while and reset my system. Let me try to just drink on the weekends. Let me try to just snort $1,000 worth of cocaine a week. Whatever it is, they're trying to sort of cut it back, but they're not to the point that they are like, I really just need to stop this altogether. That's level number 2 denial. And that stage can go on sometimes for years. And it's super frustrating. Hey, Rita, tapering. That's right. In their mind, they're tapering, but it doesn't really work that good, honestly. It's frustrating as a family member to watch this process because you know it's just going to be a disaster. And their active addiction has just been so horrible. It's wreaked havoc on your life and just terrorized you. And so it's just like, it keeps you distraught seeing this. It's hard for me to watch, and I'm not even like their family member because I know it's just going to end in disaster. But the thing about this level of denial, hey, Em, you can't skip this part. Everybody's going to go through this part. But there are some things that you can do to speed it up. So, like, for example, when there's someone in my office and they're doing this bargaining thing, and they're like, well, this is what I think would be manageable. I just want to do this. I just want to smoke weed. I just want to drink, but no more than 3 drinks and only on special occasions. Whatever their plan is. I probably know deep down inside, like, that is not going to work. 100% inside of me knows that. But I also know that people have to figure that out for themselves. And so the way I deal with that is I say, okay, you're right. Like, if you can just drink 3 drinks, like, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, that's not problematic. Let's try that. Let's hurry up and try it so we can get that bargain out of the way. Because we're going to have to go through the list and check off every single way of trying to manage it without really, really addressing it. Kind of like the shortcut way of addressing it. We're going to have to do all that. Hey, they get a sense of control from tapering as well. That's right. And to be honest, like, who wants to, like, totally say I'm an alcoholic or an addict and that means I can never even drink a beer again? Like, that's not going to be your first conclusion. So it doesn't mean that they're a bad person. It doesn't mean that they don't get it or they're not trying. That's like a normal human response that we would all have, including me, including you. You know, we don't want to give up everything. So let's try to cut it back. That's normal. I know it's frustrating, but that's level number 2, and you're not going to skip it, but you can speed it up. All right. Level number 3, I'm looking now because I got my list down here. Level number 3, it's almost like, these are almost like, I call it round 1 treatment, round 2 treatment. And by treatment, I don't necessarily mean like full out $100,000 treatment, but that's why sometimes you want to start with a lower level of treatment because you're going to go through these levels. It's happening. Now, sometimes people go through all these levels before they ever walk through my door, but they went through them. And then other times people come in and they're still in one of these or other levels of denial. But this 3rd level is, okay, I know I got a problem. I know I got to stop. Like, I really got to stop this problem, but I can do this on my own. Like, I stopped before. I stopped for 3 months one time. I got this. So this is not denial about having a problem. This is denial about what it's going to take to fix the problem. So it's just a process, you know? It's just a process of, like, helping someone understand you got a problem. Yeah, it's bad enough you're going to have to just, like, give it up. And bad news here is, like, it's going to take a whole extreme makeover because it's even hard for me to explain to someone what it's really going to take to be in recovery. Being in recovery is not, I stopped drinking. Yeah, that's like the first thing you do. Excited for your first counseling session. All right, Wanda said. That's like the first thing you got to do. But in order to stay sober or be in like what people refer to as recovery, like, you got to change your thought processes because otherwise these dysfunctional ways of thinking are going to come back in. You got to change your relationships. You got to mend fences. There's a lot of work to be done. You have to change your routines. It's extreme makeovers. It's way more involved than just, I'm just not going to drink. Because probably all of you who are watching this with a loved one who has a problem has stopped before for some period of time. I did not cut it, did it? It's still there. That addictive, problematic behavior is there. And if it's there long enough, usually the substance comes back as well. So getting people to really understand what it's going to take to get better. There's a guy who's an alumni in our group right now, and he was like, This guy, when he called us, he was as ready to change as I've ever seen. Like, he knew he had a problem. Like, he's like, oh yeah, I got like a really bad problem. Okay, what you tell me what to do, I'm doing it. You tell me to go to detox, I'm going. So he was willing. But then it's like, you get out, we want you to come to OP, we want you to have therapists, we want you to have a recovery coach, we want you to have a sponsor, we want you to go to 12-step meetings. And it's like, what? Why do I need to do all that? And he was telling us not that long ago, he's like, you know what? At the time, I was like, that's crazy. I don't need all that. And then he was like, I needed every bit of that. I still need that. So it takes a while for people to really understand why all those pieces are so important. Level number 4 denial is more like, okay, I've got this problem. I stopped using. I worked my steps. I did what I was supposed to do. And I just want to put this whole ugly mess behind me. I hear that a lot. Hey, Lori, your husband's been working twice as hard now since meetings are on Zoom. I know. Being on Zoom meetings, I don't think it's quite the same. It's better than you would think, but it's not the same. Oh, thank you, Roberto. So this idea of like, I just want to put this ugliness behind me. You really can't blame someone for this. It's probably not something they like to think about. It's something they feel embarrassed about and shameful about. And they just want to have dealt with it and then just put it in the closet, lock the door on it, and just move forward. And this isn't a bad way of thinking. It just doesn't work that way. I think we could all relate to this. How many of us watching this video as family members, we like to just shut the door on this and walk away too, wouldn't we? Okay, went to treatment, got that done, now we're out. But this is something you have to keep your eye on all the time. Now, it doesn't mean you have to go to meetings every day of your life for the rest of your life or something like that, but you need to have an awareness of this thing because addiction is, they say in recovery, cunning and baffling, and that is for sure. And I usually say recovery management is really not about focusing on not using or drinking. It's about sanity management, because when you're really in recovery, it's when you start to just feel overwhelmed and you start losing your sanity that you're at risk to use substances. It's like life gets hard, you get to this stuck point, you feel like this is the only thing that's going to help, it's the only thing that's going to make your anxiety better or whatever, and that's how people end up talking themselves into it. So I don't think it has to be the only thing in your life forever, but I don't think that you can fold it up and put it in a little box and put it behind you and just forget it ever happened either. I think that's kind of dangerous. All right, moving on to level number 5 denial. I think I told you at the beginning, I think this is probably the most difficult kind. Level number 5 denial is the denial that it's the opposite kind of I don't have a problem. It's kind of like I have a problem and it's so bad, I can never stop. Like, it's like probably this person has tried before, they've been to treatment before, they've probably failed a few times, and they literally just give up. So it's not like denial of the problem, it's more like an acceptance of this is just my fate. Sometimes it's almost like a passive suicidality, because it's just like, this is my journey, this is my fate, I'm just gonna drink till I die or whatever. It's kind of like, have y'all seen that movie like Leaving Las Vegas with Nicolas Cage? It's a rough movie, but it's like that. It's like I'm just giving in to the process. And that, to me, is the hardest thing to get through, because the other parts of denial is just almost like removing the lens from their eyes, the obstacle, so they can see the problem. This other level is a hopelessness. And if you're dealing with someone in this level of denial, the thing that's important is to, number one, make sure that they're not just sort of being like that because they're playing victim and that just makes you get off their case, because it can be sort of manipulation. But also, like, to help the person feel hopeful, to help the person know that life can get better, that they have the strength inside, that even though they may have been to treatment and it hasn't, they did make progress. You kind of have to sort of, it's almost like give them a pep talk. It's kind of the opposite of the other, but because it's a hopelessness, and you have to get them back to being able to see the possibility that things could be better. So those are my 5 levels of denial. I hope that's helpful for you, because all of you who are watching probably have loved ones at various stages, and you don't approach one the same way as you approach the other. Like the person, if you have a person, a loved one in stage 5 denial, and you're trying to convince them they have a problem, like, you're making it worse. Stage 2, how do you speed it up? That's the bargaining stage. Good question. Is you just let the bargains happen. And you just like don't interfere with the process. So like most of the time as a family member, you're so fixated on getting it to stop, you're not really going to get it to stop doing what you're doing, but you might slow it down. And you have to change your thinking from, I'm trying to make it stop, to I'm trying to get it over with quick. It's the rip the Band-Aid off. So it's like, instead of trying to get them to not try to manage the drinking at first, you can say, okay, let's try that. I mean, this is provided they haven't tried it 500 times before. And then say, okay, and you're going to have to like let them try that. Don't try to say, okay, but 3, and then you're policing it, and then you're taking it away or whatever, because then you're just slowing down the process. Like, we need to figure out, is this going to work or is it not going to work? Can you cut it back or you can't? We got to try that. And they're probably going to try it in a lot of different ways. Sometimes that's cutting back the substance. Sometimes that's like switching from one substance to another substance. You know, it's like, I'm going to stop doing cocaine, but I'm just going to smoke weed like it's natural. Everyone smokes weed. Super common. Everyone either wants to still drink if they've had a hard drug problem, or they want to still smoke weed. I'm telling you, it just doesn't work. But those are like the last strongholds for a lot of people, because they feel like, well, this was never a problem for me before. It was this other substance that was a problem for me. And the reason they think that is because the other substance just caused more problems faster in a way that they could see. But once you take whatever the harder substance out, or whatever their main drug is out, it's not that you have a problem with alcohol. It's not that you have a problem with cocaine. It's that you have a problem of not coping with life and of using a substance to do it. So the switching the substance isn't going to help. But you got to let people figure that out. It's painful, though. Hey, Paige, thank you for the encouragement. It's like you're a little cheerleader. All right, guys. I'm on here every Thursday at 1. You guys leave me some comments in the comment section telling me what you want to hear about next week. I try to take inspiration from you guys. And if you're dealing with a loved one in denial and you want more help on how to get them through those stages, then consider becoming a member of our Family Recovery Academy, because that's going to really expedite your process. That's the way you make this faster. All right, guys. See you next week.